adoption of this agenda? Councillor Danaka.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
All those in favor? Oh, we can ask for amendments. Scheduled delegations. Do we have any public delegations? Protective Services report. I have a motion. Councillor Gilroy.
Make a motion that council receive the fire chief's April and May 2016 report for information.
Anybody have any comments, or do we have anybody reporting on it? Mr. Martinson, are you?
Fire Chief Melnick said he was unfortunate, but he had to go in for some tests, yearly tests on his heart. So he, in the back part of his report, he said if any council members have any questions regarding his report, he'd be happy to receive any questions at any time at the fire hall and his cell, so, or email him.
Councillor Gilroy?
It's probably just a typo. On the first page it said, he talked about the 202 volunteer man hours recorded responding to emergencies in the month of November. I think that's supposed to be April, right? On the first page of his monthly fire report? I'm just assuming it's a typo. Good.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor of accepting it? Carried. Public Works. 50th Street capital upgrades. Do we have a motion? Mayor Cox.
That council approved the 50th Street capital upgrade tender as per MPE Engineering's letter of recommendation to award Ruel Brothers Contracting for $1,555,667 plus GST and increase the budget amount by $176,667 from surplus. Also to notify the High Prairie School Division of the cost of $78,557 plus GST to pave parking area of E.W. Pratt if they so choose.
Mr. Walker.
I did a good job with that motion. Basically, what happened was the tender came in higher than the estimate that MPE provided us for the capital budget. I did present council a couple of options to consider. My recommendation is the first one, that we would fund the extra money from surplus and not cancel any of the projects that we had set out in our original capital budget. Part of the cost increase is we are going to directional drill the new line instead of pipe bursting the new line, due to the fact that the line is underneath the curb going north. So if anybody ever wanted to tie into it or there was a repair to that line, we'd be digging up the curb as well as the asphalt. And this way, moving it out, it will keep us from having to dig the curb if it ever has a problem with it. Also, with directional drilling, it will also eliminate the problems with supplying temporary water to Heart River Co-op and the north end, because after you get past 58th Street, then there is no line looping up there, and we would have a significant problem with temporary water.
Councillor Danaka.
Just for clarification, in the first motion, we're taking the the 176,667 from the surplus to add to that, which would be the paving of the St. Andrews Street.
The paving of St. Andrews Street would stay on the books as a capital project. This would be coming from extra money from surplus for this, not from the St. Andrews project.
Okay, so the St. Andrews project is being postponed?
No, the St. Andrews project would be a go.
Okay, Okay, I just wanted clarification. Okay,
Mayor Cox?
The parking lot for UW Pratt, is that the, or the, is that the school bus parking in front of the aquatic center?
No, there is the portion in front of where the high school students park. That is private property. If you line the curb up from the north end to the south end by the aquatic center, you'll see that there's probably 25 or 30 feet of parking between the street and the school, or the school curb.
Okay.
That's all private. That's,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, and is the aquatic center, parking lot in need of paving also, or is
No.
it good?
No, the parking lot of the aquatic center is good.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just that 78,000 would pay from the old, well, the Cornerstone subdivision
yep,
along the edge of the street and the parking lot down to the aquatic center. That's all that covers.
okay,
And we had notified them last year that we were putting this out to tender. They requested a cost estimate, and now that it's closed, we'll supply them with that number as part of this motion, and they can choose to pave it or they can choose not to. That is an optional item that we just won't write into the contract. They will enter into an agreement with Ruel Brothers on their own.
and that's because they own that portion of the property?
Yes.
Okay.
Councillor Gilbert?
I guess I spoke briefly about this before. I kind of like I was looking at the other option with St. Andrews. What's the condition of that loop with St. Andrews? Is it in dire need of repair right now?
It should be repaired, yes. It is a highly used street because of the buses that go through there. The Catholic Church sits on that. And lots of funerals and other functions that go on there. It should be done as well. That was the one project that we could have postponed to come up with that. That's the one I picked out of all of the others. But really anything that I've put forward in the capital budget for this year should be being done.
Okay. Is there a way of using that money, but then using any extra contingency money that's not spent to go back and redo this St. Andrews? In other words, almost like a temporary one to cover it, and then what is not used, because with cost savings, can go back to pay St. Andrews?
Any money that's in the contingency in this project, we try very hard not to touch that money. There is unforeseen circumstances that happen in every construction project, and that's why the contingency amount is there. If we don't touch that, that money stays in our capital funds. So it could be used anywhere by council.
But it's basically rolling the dice that whether or not they'd use the contingency money, and if we then put the St. Andrews money aside to do the cost overrun instead of surplus, and it went through, we may not have the money for St. Andrews in the long run. Is that what you're saying?
The long run is we will have to be setting money aside for any capital project that comes forward. Any money that's saved in the contingency goes back into the pool. If you look at, say, lift station number 4, the original tender was 2.1 million, and I think we brought that in at about 1.9, just because we didn't spend any of that contingency money. And that went into this year's capital program.
So any contingency money you save would then actually lower the surplus we'd need to put aside that we're asking for right now?
Yes.
Okay.
But we need to allot that 176,000 from surplus. So the project will be based on the 1.5 plus the engineering and GST. So in the end, any money that's saved automatically goes back into the pot.
Mayor Cox?
One of the items that's coming up in a lot of conversation is broadband, and the fact that when we're doing road construction, we should be laying pipe or putting conduit in so that future fiber optics or whatever, the conduit is already in place. Are we moving towards?
We haven't been, no. Typically, most conduit isn't going in the roadway in High Prairie. it's going into the boulevards. So we haven't really had that issue. Anytime that TELUS has come in with fiber optics or anything, it's always in the boulevard
Okay,
or down the back alleys, yeah.
which aren't paved, so
No.
it's not too bad to dig it up. I guess in the next year, we're going to be probably mapping this municipality's
Mhm.
broadband or conduit, where they are, and in order to assess, can we move forward?
Yeah.
So.
We
just
do,
something to
we
be
do
aware of.
have the drawings from Alberta SuperNet.
Yeah.
That was part of the conditions that I put in place when they did their original construction, that they had to supply us with a set of as-built drawings. Without, and anything that comes in now, they have to supply us with as-built drawings. The only thing is, you got TELUS, who isn't part of that. We're trying to get into some agreements with TELUS and as well with ADCO for anything that they're putting underground.
Okay.
Councillor Panasic?
I was just wondering, I guess, how these get advertised and promoted. You know, when I've been talking to other communities, it seems like all of their projects are coming in under budget or what the predictions were, and this one came in over. So I was a little surprised when it was there and only, you know, two people bidding on it. So I'm just wondering how it's.
There was
advertised.
actually 3 people that bid on it, but the other bid was not, was even higher at 1.7 million.
Oh, okay.
So they took the 2 bids that were the lowest, and they did the recommendation based upon those 2 bids.
How do they market and promote that out there? How is that?
It's advertised on the Alberta Purchasing Connection and the Alberta Construction website. We had probably 5 different companies that took out drawings, but only 3 submitted bids.
You don't know why that, Avery, why only 3 submitted, and the fact that it's higher, because we did think that things may come in at least on budget, not over.
I think a lot of it had to do with the water. Any company that I spoke with when they came here for doing the water is the fact that there is a lot of unknown underground stuff in High Prairie that we may come across, and that's just from poor mapping from previous years. Like that stuff was put in the 60s. They just put it in, they didn't map it. So we've found that we do have trouble getting underground contractors to jump on board with doing some of the work here, just simply because there are unknowns. And Reg is not, memory isn't near as good as it used to be. Because we even still go back to him and talk to
You
him.
could ask Steve.
No, I'd have to have my Ouija board.
Any other questions? Okay, does anybody want the motion read back? Good. All those in favor? Carried. Lift station 2. Have a motion?
It should be lift station 7.
Lift station 7, number 2. Councillor Danaker.
The council add lift station number 7 pumping upgrade to 2016 capital budget for an estimated cost of $286,500 plus GST, with funding to come from the reduction of the capital upgrade of the number 2 lift station.
Okay, we have reassessed, and I told council when they passed the budget, capital budget back in April, that we would be looking at options for number 2 lift station. After assessing the canister and other components of that lift station, we do not have to build a new lift station, which was set aside with a 1.2 million. The estimate for that is now 720,000, which is almost a $490,000 reduction. The estimate for the upgrade of number 7 is just under 300,000 at 286.5, I think it is, and that would leave us with about 150, I did do the math here. it would leave us with around $180,000 or $90,000 in extra money that was set aside for the number 2 lift station upgrade. I would like council to leave that 1.2 million there that's set aside, just to cover any cost overruns that might come in the tenders. Again, council will approve any tender that is submitted, but just so that the funding is there if it does come in, that it's not, I'm not coming back and asking for council approval for any more money. They just have to, it's there, they just need to approve the tenders.
Mayor Cox?
Lift station 7 is the one by the hospital. Where's lift station 2?
It is by the pedestrian bridge by the funeral home,
Okay.
right on the highway.
Yep. How many lift stations do we have?
7.
Obviously, 7. So we've upgraded how many recently?
Number 5 was upgraded in 2007 or 8. That was just a go to 3-phase power and a backup power supply that has been run from the water treatment plant back to that lift station. Number 4, of course, has been done. Number 2 and number 7 will be done. And that leaves us with 3 and number 1 to consider, and a partial upgrade at 5.
And 6?
6 is good well into the future. That's the one in the Shibunya subdivision.
Oh, that's the one sitting out there.
That was built in 1986, and it is a Cadillac.
Only the best for us, eh?
Oh, the government paid for that one.
I know. Okay, so
and
1 and 3.
1, 3, and a partial in 5 would be left. Just it'd be the canister in 5. The electrical should be fine.
Okay,
So we're getting there.
yep.
Good that we saved some money on that. That's kind of nice to figure that out, eh?
Oh yeah, always. I try my best.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Mr. Walker. 3A, minutes, regular meeting of council, May 24th. Have a motion to accept the minutes. Councillor Gilroy.
I move that council approve the minutes from the May 24th, 2016 regular meeting of council as presented.
Mayor Cox.
Page 39, motion 310/16. It reads, and 60 households, and that any further hookups to the water line receive Town of High Prairie Council approval. The word must should have come after water line. So they must receive our approval. And that was what I made the motion as, must.
Anything else? We'll have to accept it as amended. They're making that as amendment.
Yep.
You accept that amendment? I do. All those in favor? Okay, we skip right over to administration. 5B, page 45, Municipal Planning Committee Representative. We have a motion. Councillor Panasic.
I move that council appoint, and I'm not sure who, because we'll have to discuss, but I'll say Rose for now, to sit on the Municipal Planning Commission until the next organizational meeting of October 2016, and remove Councillor Danaka from this commission. And I sent you, just because I don't know if you're interested or able to, but I know you were one of the ones that could do, right?
Yeah, there's 3. Mayor
So-
Cox, Councillor Long, and myself, just based on, we can't have anybody that's on the appeal committee. Or people that are already on the committee, which you are, right? So it doesn't leave a whole lot. So Arlen, you're on the appeal, and then you're on the appeal committee, you too? Is that the way that works? Okay. So anybody have any comments?
If you wanna Councillor Gilroy, are you going to be
He's on it already.
you already do a lot?
Well, I just I'll comment, because I can, but I'm wondering, Mayor Cox, are you interested in being?
No, I'll step back on this.
Well, my husband's on this committee with Gord as well,
Oh.
right? So I may have a conflict. So we maybe want to consider Mayor Cox, because it's also a 1 p.m. meeting or whatever, or noon meetings, 12 to 1.
How often do they meet?
Next one's in July 6th. And they're actually finishing everything, July 6th, and they're presenting to council what we've got.
Want to do it once?
Sure, I can do it, guys.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I do it.
It's just odds and ends next meeting. So
There you
the
go.
majority of the first time.
So maybe will you accept an amendment?
I absolutely would accept an amendment.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, appointment of CAO. Brian, let's appoint you. Page 46, do we have a motion? Councillor Danaka.
The council officially appoint Brian Martinson as CAO for the town of High Prairie effective as of October 5th, 2015.
Anybody want to comment? Brian, do you want to update us on why we're doing this?
I can.
You wanna let Terry
Terry?
explain why?
What happens is that, because I'm the new treasurer and usually the treasurer's got signing authority in the absence of the CAO, I wait to fill out the paperwork. And, they've changed things a little bit now, and I don't need to get the motion from council because it's in the treasurer bylaw, so it's already in there, that I automatically do get qualified. But before that, the way it used to be done is that the CAO can appoint me, no problem. Well, the CAO hasn't been appointed. We looked everywhere, couldn't find a motion. It was never officially done. And so the bank wouldn't accept him as the CAO. GST office, when I had to phone for the GST, wouldn't accept him as the CAO. I had to have an official motion. So, okay, it was overlooked. This needs to be filled in.
You do so, all others recognize me as the CAO, as far as it is.
Yeah.
No changing your mind, you know that.
Yeah, I called municipal affairs because I was sort of questioning it, and they totally had said, oh, yeah, we recognize him as the CAO, and we don't really see this as a big deal. Like, it wouldn't have become a big deal, but that if you can put it in your minutes and put it in the agenda and follow the bylaws, yes. So, any other comments, questions? All those in favor? Welcome, Brian. Letter of support, page 48, Councillor Panasic.
I move that council direct administration to provide a letter of support to the Recreation Board to apply for a facility enhancement grant to replace the slide tower and structural beams in the High Prairie Regional Aquatic Center.
Questions, comments? Just good on them for applying for what they can find,
But
so.
it's tomorrow, so you have to get it done now.
All those in favor? Carried.
I have drafted the
Ready to go, perfect. Anticipated that.
Just in case.
No, that, you said you weren't the CAO.
Okay, removal of resolutions, page 50, to have a motion. Councillor Long.
That council remove resolution 405/15 regarding the purchases of MR Municipal Reserve lots and resolution 558/15 regarding accredited supported living services request for property tax exemption from the combined action list.
Do we have any background? Anybody want anything more on this? We're good? All those in favor? Carried. Proposed Centennial Committee Terms of Reference, page 51. Mayor Cox.
The council received the updated terms of reference for the Sesquicentennial Committee to add 2 members from Big Lakes County Council for information.
Comments?
I have a hard time with accepting for information in the sense that they've already appointed the Reeve and another person to be part of it. Do we know what their full understanding of the county's obligation to the Sesquicentennial committee is? Did they take our letter as they are now part of our committee, or did they take it the way the First Nations did as part of a subcommittee advisory portion?
Well, best I can conclude. We sent a letter to the county, just like we did all the First Nation and Métis settlement, or to invite them to be part of an accord ceremony and to an accord meeting to discuss that portion of the committee, right? It was a subcommittee. But then our full committee asked that we consider, we had members, we have three town members, and then we have members at large. And a lot of the members at large as well were asking how come the county is not part of this committee. So we discussed it at a meeting and said we would bring it up at our intermunicipal meeting, and we would mention to the county what was going on and see if there was some interest. They're already involved in a number of other committees. Would they even have interest in being on this committee? I think because the timeliness of this, they received a letter one day, and then we had an intermunicipal meeting another day, and they were sort of two different things, but really about the same heading, the same umbrella, that they thought we were truly just asking for members, and they appointed at their council meeting. So there was some miscommunication, but it was a direct feeling from that committee that they would like to see, or our committee, the Sesquicentennial committee, that they wanted to see that the county be represented on the board. Mayor Cox?
I don't have a problem with the county being part of the Accord subcommittee. Our Sesquicentennial members would be leading the Accord subcommittee. Their choice as to who they want to include as part of doing the Accord. But we had this conversation at council previous to setting up the Sesquicentennial committee, and it was quite in agreement here that this was a town project funded by town funds, and that we were doing town activities focused on town. I, again, don't have a problem with them in the Accord, but I don't think that the intent of the Sesquicentennial was to open it up to Big Lakes County. We wanted to do this for ourselves. And I'm also kind of questioning whether the Sesquicentennial had the authority to make an invitation to have more members on the committee. According to their terms of reference, they're a creature of council. That invitation to the county, whether it was a miscommunication or not, should have been discussed at council before it was issued. Again, the Accord is a separate issue because that is one of the items that you want to do. But I don't think that the whole committee was, you would have to, again, you're here to ask for the terms of reference to be changed, and it should have been asked before they appointed. So, and I would like to hear more from the chairperson of the committee as to what because the chair is the one that I believe speaks for the committee.
Councillor Long?
Correct, you are. I was as surprised as just about everybody, I think, when it became really clear, as a result of the motions made by the county, that they in fact were having their members come on board. That being said, there was discussions at the intermunicipal, and that's sort of where I guess the miscommunication started, and then on to the county, and then them voting themselves onto our committee. My biggest concern is our committee is now becoming large, extremely large, and comprised on that committee now are 5 politicians and a director of the rec board. And I'm afraid that we're going to intimidate or scare off the other people in the community who want to be a part of it. And I certainly hope, regardless of how this discussion goes today, that there's no politicking played here. The funds that were raised and have been allocated for are for projects in our town, generated by our townspeople, ideas and creations. And if the county wants to partake, and I believe that Ken was saying at the FCM, he said, you know, there's a lot of good things. Hopefully we can bring some money into the table for you, is how he phrased it. So I don't think they're seeing themselves looking at our allocation of meager dollars for the event as a source of doing something within the county. I think that they understand that the funds that we're doing and the things that we're trying to do are for the town and in the town. And yes, there might be a partnership or a joint event happening. Hopefully we can do that. But it's just a lot of politicians. And I just want the committee members to know and the townspeople to know that we want that participation on this committee. The last thing we really need is a whole pile of politicians telling you this is what we're going to do for you, and your ideas get lost. So I hope that we leave the politics at the door. And that's all I'm going to say to it. It had better be left at the door. This is for the public. This is for the citizens of this community. It's not for our glory. It's not for our benefit. I don't want any wrangling or politicking on this issue. It's a big expenditure, and it's a lot of work that's going to have to be done. And I hope it's done in a real positive and exciting way. And unfortunately, with miscommunication, it puts us off on the wrong foot. So, onward and upward.
Any other comments? Councillor Gilroy?
Yeah, as I said, to me, it really just comes down to one thing. How did they understand the letter? Because if they understood the letter as an invitation to be on this committee, then we need to change the terms of reference. If they understood it as an invitation to be part of the project, then we don't need to. That's the way I simply see it. So my question once again stands is, did they see it as we have now invited them to be part of the committee, and if so, then we need to change the terms of reference in order to allow them to be part of it, if that is what we told them.
Mr. Martinson?
I believe there was some misunderstanding on the county's interpretation of the meeting, because the letter that was sent was for them to be a member of the Accord. And I think they assumed it was to be part of this committee. And then when they took it to their council meeting, at their last council meeting, they appointed 2 members to this committee, and they should have been appointed to the subcommittee for the Accord, is what I believe happened.
Councillor Danaka?
That was, in all the conversations I've had, that was sort of my understanding, that the county was asked if they wanted to participate in the Accord. And as I've said to Councillor Long, many times when he's brought up the sesquicentennial, that with planning something for each month of the year is quite a big undertaking. And as he just mentioned, having all these people on this committee, I think the committee's going to become so cumbersome that nothing's going to become accomplished. So I think we need to figure out, as Councillor Gilroy said, where are we going from here, and so that they understand that the letter was to participate in the subcommittee on the Accord, not to participate as 2 members on the actual sesquicentennial planning committee.
Councillor Panasic?
I'm not sure if I understand what is if you're a member of the Accord, what do you do? What's the impact of that?
So one of the first things that we did is we created the subcommittee to address the Friendship Accord. That was one of the focal points of the sesquicentennial. It was something that the community really thought would be a great way to have an inclusive gesture towards our neighbors and friends and our Métis colonies and community settlements and First Nations reserves. And so looking at all the issues that we faced in this last few years with reconciliation and other things, Councillor Rose had some information regarding the Slave Lake sesquicentennial, or pardon me, their Friendship Accord, and how they did it. And so from there it's sort of exploded out. Debbie, I believe also, or Tammy also was instrumental in bringing that idea forward. So that's how that accord began. That's how the subcommittee accord began.
So my question is, if they're on the subcommittee of the Accord, what does that subcommittee do? Do they have any input? Are they just signing to say that they're basically just a signature saying that they're partnering on this series of events, this celebration?
From a corporate point of view, yes. I mean, they'll be there, they'll be taking the information back, but it'll be the actual planning of the event and the partners and working with Sucker Creek and hopefully Drift Pile and Whitefish and Gift Lake and East Prairie and Peavine and having a real great dialogue on how they want this event to take place. Is it going to be a special ceremony at the new hospital? Is it going to be, I mean, there's all these dynamics and these things to do, and certainly getting the other players and all of the players to sign on to this idea and this concept and have it ready for our sesquicentennial. And if they are in fact still going to put those architectural teepees in front of the hospital, then wouldn't it be great if we could somehow incorporate that into the Friendship Accord, and plaques and ribbon cutting and powwow and the whole 9 yards. It could be a wonderful event, but it's still in the planning processes. Those are just the first initial discussions that came up, and now the sky's the limit, really. So
just so I'm clear, this group, the Accord Subcommittee, we'll call it, would be involved in all of the planning.
Of the Friendship Accord.
Yes. It's one event. The crown jewel, but one event out of all that we're doing for the year.
Yeah, it's only one of the 12 months, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It's
But
one.
it is the crown jewel. It is the centerpiece. It's the one thing we do want to accomplish. So it's the centerpiece, the most important part of next year's problem.
One other point that I think we should remember while we're discussing this is part of the reason why it's even come to this point is because the committee, which represents the community, and there's 5 members at large, and we don't have somebody representing the rec board, even though the rec board put her name forward as a member at large, she's just a member at large. They're the ones that asked how come the county wasn't part of it. It really didn't come from our council group as much as it did come from the community members, that every time we had a discussion, because we've had a few meetings, we talked about using recreation facilities, or maybe having something outside of town that, you know, in conjunction with Canada Day celebrations, or, you know, we were using other events in the community. It came up over and over again in conversation, then should we not have somebody from the county? And you know, and the chair sort of said himself, you know, it at the time wasn't part of our focus, and now we're really seeing how this is growing and turning into a very large or year-long event with a lot of different events, and maybe extending the terms of reference to include the county wasn't necessarily a bad thing at this point in time. It wasn't something that we were looking at, and we tried to make the change sort of lightly. We did try to handle a number of meetings prior to this decision and then bring it forward. It was just supposed to be a conversation at our intermunicipal just to see if there was interest, and it sort of turned into more. But our group did ask us to bring it to this council and to see if they would approve extending the invitation to the county, because they also felt that the county's representation would then encompass the borders of our whole area, because we're reaching out to First Nation groups and to the college and to other groups that fall within the borders of the county, not just the limits of town.
So this is a recommendation from this committee to increase that. And I know when I was at the intermunicipal, when I was hearing this discussion, my impression was they were being invited to sit on this committee, and they had hinted that they might have some money to go with it too. So, I guess I would be in favor of this based on what that is, but that's where I'm at, I guess.
Yeah, and that's all that they were asking. And the other thing that we had discussed it at the committee was that Community Foundation out of Grand Prairie has some funds for distribution for partnerships and regional initiatives, and that they would be interested in looking at what we are working on together, and that the idea of us working with our county or with other municipalities, probably does improve our opportunity to access funds. So it may allow us to go further and do more. Mayor Cox?
And I do have one other concern, is that the county is going to be doing a lot of their own Canada 150. They're going to be doing Triangle, they've got Jussard, Foster, Gruard. They have a lot of things that are already going on. I'm hesitant to involve them in this group. I prefer to see them on the Accord. I think that would be an appropriate place for them to be. Again, I reiterate that this was for the town's citizens, town celebrations, town, and our partners as town organizations that are here that work within our town. And yes, some of them work outside the town, but a lot of them are citizens of the town, and I think that this is what the intent was. We also have a legacy portion of the sesquicentennial, and that is to be used for some legacy project in the town. I don't see where the county would be interested in funding a legacy project in the town boundaries. So again, what kind of funding would they be bringing to the table? I mean, it's a carrot that's being dangled, and it's similar to, I think, the golf course tournament that kind of slipped away and became the county's, and I would not want to see that happen here. So we have a large committee already. I think we have more than enough people working on it, and if you're hiving off your subcommittees, then you're including more and more people in the subcommittee aspect of it.
Councillor Gilroy?
Being part of that committee, I'm going to make them my concern that I had when this was first brought up anyway, and that was that if this is an invitation to be part of the Accord, that allows all the First Nation partners in the Métis to be appeased, because when they first were invited to come and talk about the Accord, the initial impression we received at the first meeting is they thought they were part of the full committee, and yet they were told they were not, and that we could not put them in there. And then they were we were able to discuss it, and they were very happy with being part of a subcommittee on the Accord. My concern is that we're changing the rules. And so all I want to know is, as I said, if this is what they've done, fine. If you want to increase it, it's up to council. But my concern is of the other communities involved in this, as well as how the county then feels, because I also very aware that we don't want to fully embarrass them either if they've made unless there's some sort of letter that's going to clarify everything. That's as clear as mud, I guess.
I think in the spirit of one, cooperation, and also the fact that if, you know, a student who goes to school in this town may live in the county, if somebody who works in this town may live in the county, when you ask people where they live, they don't say, oh, I live in the county. Most people say they live in High Prairie. So I don't like the walls that we put up here, because I think that everybody feels a little more unified than we allow them to. We talked as an Accord group as a 150 group to include the schools. I mean, and it's hard to say, okay, only the kids in town are going to be part of this program, or this legacy project that we're gonna try to leave within the community is only for residents of the community. I feel like the people that live 1 mile from town, or 3 miles from town, or 10 miles from town still feel like whatever project that we're going to do in the area is for everybody. It's not just for tax-paying residents of the community. So I think that we should be careful about those borders, and that the whole theme of our provincial government right now and our federal government is about regionalization, working together, collaborative voices, and that's all we're being asked to do over and over again, is to work with your neighbors. They've already appointed a couple members. I don't imagine that it'll be a negative impact to our committee. It'll only be added value. There is the potential of going and applying for, or seeing if we needed funds for something. They have a grant writer at the county that we may be able to access. There's opportunity to work and improve our relationships. They have good relationships with some First Nation groups. We have good relationships with some First Nation groups. When we're working on the Accord, we may be able to better work on it together. So I don't see that there's a negative side of it, but I mean, I do understand some of your concerns.
I'm not against the county being on the council, clarifying that. What I'm concerned is how the others approach it, and all I'm asking is for the clarification. If they're on the Accord, great. If you want them on the committee, great, but then be aware that others who thought they were going to be on it, I'm not against the county being on here. I just want clarification on what role the council here wants for the county. And when I was saying hard feelings, I'm thinking if we turn them down, that would be the hard feelings. Nothing about someone, I just was understanding what you were saying. It was more of a...
Sorry, it's not all directed at you. Everybody's made a comment about their opinions.
No, but...
I apologize if you feel...
No, I just felt that was a little close there, because my part was that if they thought they were on the full council and they publicized it or said it that way, and then we say no to them, that's the part I'm concerned about for future working together with them.
Mayor Fox.
I believe, as according to the rules of debate, that should not be speaking again and again and again until every member of council has had the opportunity to speak. And I'm not sure if we've heard from Councillor Courtley, and I'm not sure if we've heard from Councillor Danaka. Did you? Yes. So unless, I mean, we're not hearing from some of our members, and I think we should, and then call the question. I think we pretty well beat this to death.
Councillor Courtley, do you have any comment?
Just a couple questions, I guess. I never really got the whole understanding of the 150th anniversary. I thought it was basically just one celebration. I didn't realize it was the whole year. Is that what we're planning here? Is a whole year of celebration, a function every month?
Sort of evolved. Did you want to go? Yeah. It just sort of evolved.
Okay. It's evolving into that, so it's not just on the anniversary date or like close to that on like that month or that week or that weekend. It's an actual the whole year, right?
And it was with the evolution, or the the extra, maybe the need for extra members came to be.
Well, it's just coming to light to me, so that's why I'm a little confused on the length of time and the amount of people and the funding. I can see.
Sort of has an agenda there set up.
Yeah, no, the last page of Councilor Rose's report.
So that's
what they do.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the whole. And when does it physically start? January 2017?
Yeah, January 2017 to December was the decision of our board.
Okay, because it says January 1st, 16 to December 1st, 16 in the,
January, what we were thinking is possibly getting even involved with the fireworks display at Light
you're right.
just before January 7th.
Okay, no, that's why that's, okay. Go ahead.
I think Arlen brings up a good point that we're ending, the terms of office will end in December 31st of 2016, according to this terms of reference.
That's what
And
I was looking at.
and it should probably be 17, because this group is still gonna be active when they're planning things during 17. So,
And we went that way with the
Let's
last
have
part,
our
Orwell.
An ad hoc committee, and it can only be for 1 year.
Yeah.
And this was approved prior to even the first meeting, right? Because we did, I think, Michael, you did
so
bring
it
that up.
has to be approved next year.
So I'm just trying to catch up with what.
Okay, no, that's a
It'll
good
be-
catch.
It'll be approved at the organizational meeting.
For another year.
Okay, okay.
Counselor Courtney?
So the actual, accord that you're talking about is one celebration. And
If you look
that-
at page 85 of the agenda, there's a
Yeah,
list.
I'm looking at it here,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a list of,
Yeah,
So the friendship court itself is one part of that whole year-long festivity. So there's gonna be if you can imagine partnering
Yeah.
up with the freshmen association.
on the May, yeah, well, that's right, okay, so on the May, so the county's involved in that one accord?
Yeah.
With the other communities and stuff as a friendship area accord?
that's right.
Okay, well, that's, okay.
But it just got confusing because a letter
Yeah.
went out about the accord
Yeah,
at the same time as questions about them joining the full committee.
so they're not involved with all the other 11
Exactly.
festivities, it's just the one accord?
That's what the intention, if we change the terms of reference, is they would sit on the actual committee. Because that was what our group had, and that's what Mayor Cox is
Yeah.
talking about, and that's what the group of there's three council, and there's
Yeah.
5 members
Yeah.
at large. And it kept on coming up at our meetings and it was mostly from members at large to say, how
Yeah.
come we don't have county representation?
Yeah,
And-
I totally agree with the accord with them being involved in that, and then the same with the other communities, but I do agree that the other 11 festivities should be just town only, and that's how I see it. In my opinion.
Any other, Donna, did you have any? You're good?
Call the question.
Call the question. So the motion's to, what is your motion?
Receive for information.
Receive for information. All those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Gilbert?
Would we then, since we did this for information purposes, just a point of clarification, would we then make another motion to write a letter to then clarify what their role is and what the original invitation was for? Should we be making a motion to that effect?
We
Is that
did
what we just
already.
did with the
You just-
invitation?
Yeah,
Okay,
basically.
I was thinking we needed a second. I make a motion that we direct administration to write a letter to the County Big Lakes Council to explain what the intention of the invitation was and to clarify what the invitation is for on behalf of the Sesquicentennial Committee, because they're the ones who sent the letter. Does that sound?
Clean it up whatever you want. Clean up our mess. Read the shirt. Council made me do it.
Anybody have any comments? Okay, I don't agree with sending a letter telling them now we don't want people on the committee. No, but we can talk, right? When he made a motion, I can speak to that, can I not? That's right. Just, I don't agree that this is the way we should be doing it. I don't think this is the way that we should be working and bridging relationships, unfortunately, but that's my thought. I won't be voting for the motion. Mayor Cox.
I actually believe that the letter will, as indicated by the motion, will thank them very much for their appointment of the two members and clarify that the members will be welcome to sit on the Accord subcommittee, and that we appreciate the fact that they have taken an interest in the Accord subcommittee and look forward to meeting with them. And I think that that is more of an explanation as to what it is, what the intent was, and we can even reference the original invitation letter.
Which really wasn't to sit on a committee, so that's why I think this is going to be very confusing, because we shouldn't be, if we're talking about inviting them to the subcommittee, the letter didn't really invite them to a committee. It invited them to take part in an Accord celebration.
That wasn't what we heard.
That's what I say. We don't have all the information in front of us, but
And that's why
anyway.
I'm asking for clarification first before the vote.
So, point
So
of order, let's just vote.
Centennial sent a letter inviting the county
To
to
participate
sit
in
on
this.
the Sesquicentennial Committee without authorization from the council.
To express interest in an Accord ceremony? That's what this committee was looking for, is interest from the county, First
Okay,
Nation,
so-
and Métis, and that was the letter
For the Accord.
for the Accord, but not for the Accord committee, for the Accord.
For the
For the
Accord.
Accord, not for the Accord.
That's right.
Not for the Centennial.
So there was confusion when we went to went to our intermunicipal, as discussed, that because the committee, the full committee, council, the members at large, asked to see whether the county was interested in being part of that. And with that interest, we were to bring back to this council to increase the number of members on the terms of reference so we could invite the county to be members. They sort of jumped the gun and put forward two names prior to that because it was just a little unclear as to what was being offered, because we were talking about two different things, one in a letter form, one at the intermunicipal. Mayor Cox?
But there was no problem telling the First Nations that you didn't want them sitting on the Sesquicentennial, that you wanted them for the Accord, and yet they received the same letter. So why do they not get to sit on this committee, which is what you brought up? And I would be more than happy to have First Nations in East Prairie if the county is sitting on here. Because they are as much importance to us as the county is. So but I'm digressing. I'm getting political here. So no, I'll just sit tight and wait for them to vote for the motion.
All those in favor? Opposed?
Road closure.
56. Go ahead, Mr. Gilroy. Councillor Gilroy? Mr. Gilroy?
That's okay. I forget what I was saying. Okay, I move that council approve the road closure of 51st Avenue from 47th Street to 48th Street on Friday, June 17th, 2016, between the hours of 5 o'clock p.m. and 8 o'clock p.m. in order for the Children's Resource Council to host their Big Rig event, also providing signatures from all businesses and homeowners on 51st Avenue approving of the road closure.
Mayor Cox?
Are there only three?
Are there only 3 householders on that avenue? Oh, well, tell us about the rest of them.
What was the lady's name? The one that wrote the
Ronnie.
letter? She phoned me today and said that she had went to 2 of the residents on the end to get their signatures, and she said she went back like 2 or 3 times and nobody was home or answered the door. She didn't see where there'd be a problem, as they have an alley access for parking for the few hours that they were gonna host this event, so. The Richards Lumber is closed down. so in order to get a signature, they had to go to Athabasca or contact Athabasca. The Watsons live right on the corner at the end of the street, right across from Northwest Machine. Starkos live next to Michael Smith, about midway through the alley. I think there's one little house in there on the other side of Starkos that you couldn't get a hold of. And then there was one on the other end of Smith's that, right on the alley that they couldn't get a hold of.
Okay.
I believe there's 6 houses on that street, because there's the one on the corner,
Watson's.
which is Janelle's on this closest post
Yeah.
office side. There's Janelle, well, used to be Janelle's. Then there's the alley. Then there's another house. Then there's another house. Then there's Michael Smith. Then there's Starko, and then there's a house on the end. Now, I thought we had, and I tried to find it, I thought we had a road closure bylaw or policy, and I thought it said that we had to get a certain percentage of the signatures, and I could be wrong, but I had the same concerns as Mayor Cox did. I was like, well, there's more than 3 people that live on that street.
Just a point of clarification, the invitation, is for the event to be from 5 till 8, but the actual request on the next page is from 4 till 8, so I'm not sure if that'll affect whatever motion you make or not.
4 till 9.
So that's what the request is different than the actual event.
And I have another question regarding the Legion, because Friday night, doesn't the Legion have their,
They have access to their parking lot,
When have they signed? Saying yes.
she said she got to the hand. They didn't say.
Councillor Gilroy.
Okay, the motion that was made says it's providing signatures from all businesses and homeowners on 51st Avenue, approving the road closure. So, to me, unless they provide signatures, or somehow, because that's what we're voting on, it would be a null factor, wouldn't it? Because it says they need to provide signatures for it.
Cox.
perhaps an amendment to say subject to providing signatures?
Change the time too?
And from, okay, so is it 4 to 9? Or well, how did we end up? Oh, okay.
Instead of cleanup, it's the extra hour each way.
So that would be my amendment, is 4 to 9 and subject to.
Did you get the amendment changed? And are we saying all members, all residents on that street have to be able to be contacted and sign? Is that what you're asking for?
What's our policy statement?
Yeah, like, I mean,
No, I don't think there's any there.
You can hold the word council.
when we did it for the Friendship Center, did we get every business on that street sign a signature from every business on the street?
Subject to signatures, I'd be okay with it. Good nature.
Okay, subject, that's what your amendment is, I say. Do you want to read that back, Nancy?
Yep. See, that's why I wear this right now. The council approved the road closure of 51st Avenue from 47th Street to 48th Street on Friday, June 17th, 2016, between the hours of 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. in order for the Children's Resource Council to host their Big Rig event. Also, or subject, okay, well, I gotta figure out where I'm gonna fit that in. Subject to providing signatures from all businesses and homeowners on 51st Ave approving of the road closure.
Are you good with that, Mayor Fox?
I still have the problem with the absentee landlord, Richards Lumber. So accepting out Richards Lumber, I don't have a problem with that. But there's no point them trying to get Richard's number. I don't even know where you would contact the person, and I don't think he would care. But,
I think that would be fine, pretty close.
yeah,
It'd be nice to see the Legion on there though.
definitely. And the Legion, so businesses and that, and I think
Mr. Walker?
I can talk to him if they want. Mr. Clegg just mentioned to me that he talked to the Legion during the cadet celebrations with
Yeah, the annual inspection, they're okay with it.
I'm a Legion member and there's a meeting tomorrow night, so I can definitely make sure that they.
You can bring a piece of
they
paper and get them to sign.
yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Land use bylaw amendment, page 60. How are you doing, Michael? Do we have a motion? Councillor Panasic.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw 9-2016 to amend the land use bylaw 05-2015 dated this 14th day of June 2016.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Do we have another motion? Councillor Long.
And that council give third and final reading to bylaw 9-2016 to amend land use bylaw 05-2015 this 14th day of June 2016.
Discussion? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, discussion. Councillor Danaka.
I just have a question in regards to this. I just don't want us to be in the habit of, or being in the situation where we've created a precedent in the sense that somebody wants to do something in a neighborhood and they'll come forward to us saying, I want to do this. Can you amend your land use bylaw so I can do this? That's my only concern with doing this, a third reading. So if somebody can ease my mind about that in some way, then please do.
Councillor Long.
It's the one thing that any municipal government has is the ability to create a bylaw for land use or otherwise. That is, it will not set a precedence. A land use bylaw, we can change every which way we want. And it will not be something that somebody could say, well, you did it for John, why can't you do it for me? It's not something that sets precedence.
Can you comment on that?
What had happened is the group that the property owners that wanted to change just their lot. And we sat down and I discussed it with them for quite some time on what we should be doing with it. And I said, typically, council wouldn't approve of this one lot change, but to rezone the whole block, and then we consulted Havan, our planner, basically, and he said it was a good fit, so that's why we went this route this time, so.
Mayor Cox?
Just as a point of information, this now becoming a place of worship, there will be no taxes assessed to this property next year.
All those in favor? Carried. Bylaw 10-216,
Morris.
64. Do I have a motion on the golf course bylaw? Councillor Panasic.
That council give second reading to bylaw 10-2016, the guarantee repayment of a line of credit loan bylaw. This the 14th day of June 2016.
Comments? Everybody's happy with the bylaw? No discussion? All those in favor? And do we have another motion?
I'll I'll move. That council give third reading to bylaw 1016, the guaranteed repayment of a line of credit loan bylaw. This the 14th day of June 2016.
Councillor Gilroy.
Just one quick note. I know that we're doing this on the basis that they've done this year after year and they've got good credit and things like that. What happens if they default for future reference?
I know we pay $60,000, but what else happens to them?
So can you explain the bylaw and what this is going to give them, Brian, just so everybody's clear on?
If they don't repay the loan, then the town, being the property owner, would have to pay back the loan.
But what happens after that?
If they don't, then basically, I guess the town would assume the property and the improvements and could sell it to get their $60,000 back or whatever.
I believe the assessment is over $1 million.
$1.5 million, I believe.
$1.5 million. So we're not,
Well, no,
I'm just asking, I'm not worried about the golf course itself. I'm talking about the people who we're giving the line of credit to. Does that mean that we second guess them next time they come?
the line of credit is the golf
Right.
course society. It's not the
Yeah.
people.
Right.
It's the society that is asking
And
for
so
it.
if the society defaults on it, our course of action after that is to not do it next time?
Well, there wouldn't be a next time because the line of credit would be paid by the town, 60,000. The society would be defunct, basically, because they have no money, and it becomes our golf course.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
However, I was going to ask, do we have the financials for this year, last year, 2015 yet?
Did we not get them at the end of last year? No. Like, I was talking to Councillor Panasic about that, whether we had them.
They just did them according to, one of their members had just informed me, but they haven't submitted.
Okay,
yet.
so we'll be looking for
Yep.
them. Okay.
All those in favor? Carried. We'll take a 10-minute break.